you come into Hawthorn, they hang that premiership carrot, they dangle it in front of you and be like, you got the opportunity to win flags here. And still got vision in my head of Lee Brown, big strong man. He's like this, and like you get underneath him and you'd be lifting his arm up. Kennett wanted to fine me $50,000.
What?
And I got it down to 3. I just remember hallucinating. Like I was out there for hours and you'd be like, halt, who goes there? And it would just be a tree. Don't poke the bear. When I played on Bard back in the day, he'd whinge to the umpires and I'd be like, yeah, you're right, bud. I was probably holding you there. To back up again in 13 and to finally win it, I think that was the one that was super rewarding.
Well, our guest today just has a lazy 3 premierships, a couple of BNFs, an All-Australian. Josh Gibson, welcome to the dos&d show, mate.
Thanks for having me, boys. It's a pleasure to be here.
Mate, very excited to chat with you over the next period of time and go over some of your highlights of your career and life. But before we dive in, tell us a bit of an update on what's going on in your world at the moment.
Yeah, work-wise, so work at a company called Titanium Caravans. You might hear us a bit on Triple M on Saturdays. I think it's the Titanium Caravan scoreboard. So GM there. We make luxury off-road caravans if you're wondering what we do. But that's it from a work standpoint. Away from that, like riding my horses, try and camp draft as much as I can. That's about it, mate. Family.
That's it,
Pretty
mate.
boring.
So footy finished and you've just got yourself more busy than you were before.
Yes, no, that's the way, isn't it? I actually take my hat off to guys who, I always think back to Sam Mitchell. He had all these young kids running around with footy and now being a dad. Hat off to him and Lyndall, because I don't know how they did it while they were playing, because I feel like I'm so busy and I don't know how I would have done it when I was trying to concentrate on getting a kick as well.
So now being a bit more removed from playing, what is your relationship like with footy? Do you still watch it or follow it? What's your affiliation with the Hawks?
Well, I train with some mates who are like, they're mad Hawthorn. So Nim, he'd want to shout out Nimrod and Ryan. I know, guys, you'd be so happy I'm talking about you. And they feel like they've re-energised my love with football this year because I've attended 3 or 4 games. So I've watched a little more footy this year than I probably have in the past. And obviously hanging out with those tragics every morning, training. I know everything that's going on with Hawthorn because they're absolute Hawthorn tragic. So watching a little bit more this year, but not super entrenched in it.
Yeah.
Tell us a bit more about the caravan stuff. Like, so obviously, I'm assuming you're an outdoorsman with the horses and whatnot. Why the link to the caravans?
Yeah, I towed a titanium caravan beforehand, and then career shifts are happening, and the guys there were pretty keen to get me across, and I came across in a BDM, business development role, and just thought they thought I could add something. Don't know what they saw, but anyway, they felt I was a good fit for the brand. And look, it's something in all seriousness, I enjoy doing because I do like the outdoors. I do, as I said, we get away and do camp drafting, which is a horse sport, and you take the van and you take the family away. So there is a lot of a camping aspect to it. And if you're going to do it, you want to travel in style. And obviously, Titanium make the best vans out there. So it was a natural fit, and I'm never going to be the bloke that sits behind a desk in the corner in an office. I need to be around people, so it's a good fit.
How was the transition out of footy when you retired?
Look, it was, I guess everyone misses the game at some stage. Probably that, when that first preseason starts that you're not a part of, you miss it and seeing the guys run out. But I think from a young age, I always thought, it was really a head injury I had at North Melbourne, when they said I might not play again, and I think I was 23 or 24, and I was like, okay, if they tell me in 4 weeks' time after this that I can't play again, what's going on? And I sort of, you put study and those things to the side, especially back then because uni wasn't as flexible as it is these days in regards to the AFL program. So, you think, what am I going to do? And I think sort of from that moment forth, I was always like, right, I'm going to, try and be doing something outside of footy for the rest of my career so that if it ends earlier than I'd like it to, I'm prepared to do something. And I had some investments and started some businesses, and, some worked, some didn't, but more failed than not. But
that's typically the way.
That's it. That's right. But it always kept me kept me engaged in things outside of footy. And I think that when I got the tap on the shoulder or the time come to retire, it definitely makes that transition easier. I'm doing things that are outside of the footy bubble, because it is playing AFL footy is not the real world. It's a bubble, and there's a big wide world out there, and it's very different to playing footy.
Yeah, it's funny. It is a bubble, but just so many of us, it dictates everyone's week.
Yeah, it does, and I always used to laugh and still do that. We could go out there on a Saturday or whatever day it was on the weekend, and those Hawks fans in the crowd, like what I did out there dictated how they were going to behave this week, and whether they were all going to take Mondays off work because we had a shit loss, excuse the language, or we had a phenomenal win and they still take Monday off work. But it was it's crazy to just get an understanding, especially in Victoria, in Melbourne, how much footy sets up the agenda for people in terms of their week ahead.
Now, Jared, I want you to just look up Josh Gibson, North Melbourne. I just want to see the haircut that was rolling in in the early playing days. But mate, going back to North a little bit, because you've become a legend at the Hawks, and that's what a lot of us remember you for. But what are your early memories of walking into the Kangaroos?
Yeah, look, obviously the Kangaroos gave me an opportunity to start my AFL career, or to play AFL footy. Really, I played at Port Melbourne in the VFL, and I think I went to you got the draft camp and state screenings. I went as a 17-year-old. I went as under 18s. I went again as I think a 19-year-old my first year at Port, and probably the window was closing, and I was lucky that playing at Port Melbourne was aligned with North, and I just had a goal to go out there and try and be better than the North Melbourne defenders playing in the twos, and to get that opportunity to them to call out my name in the rookie draft of 2004. My first year was 05 was pretty special moment, and then to go on and play your first game in 2006, and I stayed there until the end of 2009 and played 60 games, and very fortunate for the lessons that I learnt there, set me up.
Oh, here we
set
go.
me up as a footballer. Yeah, they taught me a lot. Taught me how to get a proper haircut, as you can see. But what people don't know is we used to do Kangalotto. So, you had the Keno balls, and everyone would put in money, and there was, I don't know, maybe $1,500 for the bloke that won at the end. So it was a great game. I'm a rookie listed player as well. At that stage, you're on $28,000 a year when I started.
28, really?
$28,000 a year you got as a rookie. So I didn't have a lot of money, and winning Kangalotto would be great, but there was a head shave ball in there, and that head shave ball always seemed to find the blokes that didn't want to shave their head. And there was a $500 buyout. And, some of the pretty boys out there, Blake Grimmer, who I played with, he paid the dollars. When Johnny Hay came over from North Melbourne, he told us to fuck off. He paid it straight away. I think he paid $1,000 just in case he came out again. But when I came out that day, I didn't have the $500. So I had to pull the clippers out, and that was the end of the dreadlocks. So,
in front of everybody, was it?
The head was shaved, and I no longer looked like a drowned rat, or soul glow they used to call it. You remember that?
The soul glow.
The soul glow, you have the wet hair, you lean against the couch, you leave the big wet mark on the couch. So, but I did enjoy my time at North, and very lucky to play around some phenomenal footballers, have some wonderful coaches, and really, set me up for the career I had.
How did the trade come about to the Hawks?
Yeah, interesting. Sammy Soho, who runs he runs Soho, which is a suit store on Chapel Street. He used to do a lot of the boys' suits. And him and I had a relationship, and he was mad Hawthorn, and we were sort of chatting about.
Don't tell me it was the tailor that got you over the line.
Mate, it was. We were like...
It wasn't a Clarko call.
He was the Taylor halftime list manager, recruiter. We had a chat, and I think he just sort of fielded some things. I don't think Josh is that happy at the time. We just sacked Dean Laidley. I was actually getting played as a tagger, so I was in the midfield tagging blokes. And I was arming and ahhing. We were trying to get a deal done, and we were like $20,000 in difference. I wanted this figure. They wanted to give me 20 less, and I said, I'm going to hold out. And so I think Sammy put some words in there, and it started festering, and I was like, nah, this isn't going to happen. And but anyway, the talk started, and I did meet with I had a couple of meetings. I met with Clarko, I met with Mitch, met with Hodgie, Dunstall at times, and it was a couple of times throughout the season, and which you weren't really meant to do, but we did it anyway.
They all do it.
And they said, listen, we rate you as a defender. I think 2007, at final series. Remember when Bud kicked that goal against Adelaide?
Oh, yeah.
And we took him on the next week and had a really good game. Well, a good game against Bud back then was he only kicked 3 on you, and that was a good game. But I played all right on him that night, and I think that probably left. I guess they sort of had a mindset of the way I went about it post that, and when we met in 2009, Crody had a phenomenal 08 with them, and remember he smashed his ankle in that grand final, and so he didn't play many games in 09, so they were looking for a key defender, and had a meeting with them, felt pretty comfortable about it, and then I remember North hadn't had a coach yet. They then appointed Scott, Brad Scott, and had a meeting with him, and I was going overseas, and I knew I wanted to go to Hawthorn, but I sort of couldn't really tell North. And I remember I was riding around. I was in LA with my mate who lived there, and I was riding my bike. I was riding back from the pool, and the phone rings, and it was Donald McDonald, and he just ripped me a new ass.
Really?
Yeah, about wanting to leave, and then for the next week, it was hell on this trip. I was obviously getting calls from players,
North boys,
North boys, and it's a really hard situation to be in, especially as I thought I was pretty, still a young guy of the game, and I came back, and I had to come back because I was doing, remember the AFL, the grand final footy show.
We were talking about this before this interview because I was like, did Gibbo do a grand final review?
Yeah, I did a few of them, and that year they stitched me up. They were like, it was the year Michael Jackson died.
Oh, okay.
So they're like, you're going to do it. We've got you. We're going to do Roden and Love It.
Of course, it's Roden.
Yeah, we're going to do all the blokes that can dance and you and Josh, and we're going to do this Michael Jackson review. And it's like, don't worry, don't stress. You're going to have dancers all around you, Anyway, we start practicing. It's me on stage by myself for the whole start. No dancers around me, no nothing. And so I'd agreed to go to America. So I was learning this early. So when I was in America, I had to come back for grand final week because I had to do this players review. So anyway, I had to do this Michael Jackson dance, make myself look like an idiot. But the point is I had to then sit down with the footy club, North, and it was just awkward. I went with my manager, sat with my manager, and I was sort of like, yeah, if you can't get me to Hawthorn, I'll stay at North. And we walked out of that meeting, and my manager's like, you can't say that. They won't trade you now. They'll say, we tried to get the trade done, but unfortunately it couldn't happen. So I had to call them after that and be like, if you don't trade me to Hawthorn, I'm going to go into the preseason draft. And I think the first 3 picks were Brisbane, Freo, Port Adelaide. It was every interstate team, So I was like,
so you're bluffing.
I was bluffing, but I didn't have a good hand. I went in with a 2 and 3 off suit or something, It was a shocking poker hand. And we were bluffing. But look, they ended up coming to an agreement, and the trade went through right at the start of trade week, which shows the deal was done beforehand. But somehow in the first 5 minutes, this trade got done. There was no chatting beforehand, and mate, the deal got done, and I was going to the Hawks and went back to America and enjoyed the rest of my holiday.
Oh, you went back again?
Yeah, I went back. I just came back, just did the
dance.
Michael Jackson, and then got back.
I went look at that. Did you say 2009 play review?
2009. Yeah.
Just see if you can have a little search while we keep chatting. But what was the trade back to North? Do you remember?
Yeah, so it would have been they swapped second round picks. Because the hard thing was North wanted Hawthorn's first round pick, and they'd already given it for Sean Burgoyne because Burgoyne was coming across to. So
what a trade period!
I know it was a good trade for that, and so they it was a trade of second round picks, and then we got a pick later on.
Okay.
And so I think they picked up Aaron Black. With the pick, and then the pick that Hawthorn got back later on, we picked up Taylor Duray. So. I think we got me and Tyler Duray out of the draft and for the trade, and they got Aaron Black. And
so again, I'd like to know your thoughts. So when you're at Arden Street and North, and you come from this working class kind of club, and you know, it's no secret North have always been kind of more of the what would you call them?
Underdog.
Underdog. That's a good way to put it. And you go across to the east, to the Hawks and the Hollywood Hawks. And what were your first kind of thoughts when you walk into that kind of footy club and the main differences you saw between the two?
Well, look, training facilities and that have all got a lot closer now. But when I was at North Melbourne, we had the old Arden Street change rooms. You know, the gym was the old bar up the top that looked over the ground. We turned that into a gym, so there was still the bar in there. We were in portables. We were lucky. That the portables got burnt down one weekend, and we were able to do an insurance job and got some better change rooms. But like, I used to go to training, you'd have a homeless guy lying on the old dugout, and you know,
sounds like my local
wave to you in the morning. I think every now and then you also had a human feces at the bottom of the goalpost because you used to go and land against the goalpost at night when you wanted to do a shit. So look, we were training in different environment, right? Yeah. Then I've gone to Waverley, which, you know, it was a big deal back then because Hawthorn's facilities at Glenferrie weren't that flash either, but they'd gone to Waverley, and you know, you walk into this amazing facility. You know, another thing that was hard at North was, you know, all of our office staff and marketing were all in offices at Etihad or Marvel Stadium. So you had this disconnection. You know, you had the footy department over here, but then all that sort of corporate side of the business off-site. Whereas at Hawthorn, everyone was together, you know. So it was this really slick run operation. You had Kennett involved, and I feel like, you know, Kennett was the man. As if this person bragged for Collingwood, but they were the best accountant, he'd just hire them, you know what I mean? And obviously punch them into becoming a Hawks fan. But it was a very professional outfit, whereas probably back then North was, you know, they didn't have the same sort of budget. And so it was just on a whole new level. And then, you know, you walk out to training and, you know, you get to master your craft every day on the likes of Franklin and Roughhead as key forwards. And if you decide that day you maybe want to try your luck on a small forward, you go out and play on Rioli. So, you know, in terms of the players you had there as a defender to further my game and educate myself, like it was pretty phenomenal. And it's like, I guess, you know, when you were probably the cool kid in year 6 and then you go to high school and you don't know where to stand. It's year 7, grade 1, first day of year 7, you don't know where to stand. And I think that's where I was at, like Hawthorn. You sort of get out there and, you know, you're on the outside to start with, and you just want to impress and get the job done. Show them that you're worth trading for.
Now, it's not every day you get to sit across from a 3-time Premiership player, Josh Gibson. We're loving this, aren't we?
Well, the man that I used to draft number 1 in Supercoach every season, Dos.
But we got to quickly mention Fleet Plan Hire Solutions, because interviews like this don't happen without him.
No, he was, of course, a 3-peat superstar with the mighty Fighting Hawks, but a company worthy of that kind of 3-peat aura. I'll tell you who. Fleet Plan Hire Solutions.
Well done.
I'm talking anything that happens in this great state, of course, this great country, doesn't happen without them.
You're talking project, yeah?
I'm talking project. I'm talking roads as a smaller one, bridges, tunnels, these massive jobs that are going on right now. You need these guys.
But then you've got other companies, other earth-moving companies out there that they don't want to own their equipment themselves. So what do? They hire them from Fleet Plant Hire. So you don't have to be into a big, huge project to be involved with Fleet Plant. They look after smaller jobs too.
Absolutely. Their customer care is number 1. So if you're like us and you don't quite speak the lingo, give them a call. They'll walk you through the A to Z and make it easy for you.
Head to fbh.com.au today.
Let's go back to the episode with Josh Gibson.
You shared a locker next to now the current coach, Sam Mitchell.
Yeah.
He's obviously very, they call him the master coach. He's very tactical. What was he like as a locker room buddy?
No, look, Mitch and I, very similar. We were so competitive. And it's something we probably wish we weren't all the time. But we were two blokes that, not against each other, but we were always competing. So, you know, that was a quality I really loved and admired about him. His footy knowledge is just phenomenal. Yeah, it's like when you would watch Vision and Mitch did the wrong thing and Clarko would point him out, and Mitch would try to give you an excuse, you'd be like, piss off, Mitch. You're the smartest bloke in this room. You just chose not to run defensively there because you couldn't be bothered. You know, like he was just so smart. And you always knew he was going to be a good coach. But I think I knew he'd be a good coach, but I didn't think he would get to this level. And I think probably during his time coaching at West Coast and I think he really eased back a bit. Like as a player, he always demanded excellence, which is great. But I feel like he's more forgiving now to younger guys and he's changed his approach. And that's why he has such good interaction with the younger group now. And you look like the way that they want to play for him is because he invests so well in them. So he's definitely changed up the way he's gone about it as such. But in terms of a footy brain, there's not many that have the footy IQ that Mitch has.
How do you think you'd go in this era at Hawthorn if you were drafted kind of today in terms of a bit flashy? We love the celebrations, the
dominate
the TikTok trends. Would this be right up your alley?
Right up my alley.
Mate, if he's doing Michael Jackson in front of the nation.
Have we got any luck, by the way, with that? 2009 AFL Footy Show play review.
Do you want me to show you where it is?
YouTube. Look it up.
It was funny. Mitch and I were talking this year to the women's team at Hawthorn. And he was talking about, how I was as an individual. And he's like, Josh was in the wrong era. Like, we probably tried to peg him back and hold him back too much, Like, it's not that, that he did the wrong thing, but he's out there. Like, he's, I'm the equivalent of these guys that liked social media and,
bit of razzle-dazzle.
I used to, enjoy going out and going to events and stuff like that, but I never let it compromise or affect my footy. But, yeah, I probably grew up in a different phase. But yeah, I do watch a lot of it now. And it's funny though, because, you say that part, but then we were so disciplined and structured and old school, we didn't wear long sleeve jumpers or you weren't allowed to wear sunglasses in grand final parades or you'd win a premiership and, on Sunday you go to Glenferrie Oval and, you take the cup out there and there's that next day for the fans. We haven't been to bed, it's...
And no sunnies.
No sunnies. You just got to go across there with your red eyes because you've been drinking beers all night. But that was the way that Clarko had us and I guess, something we embraced at the end, whereas now it's social media, celebrations, you can almost celebrate kicking a point these days and long sleeve jumpers. So it's very different.
Yeah. Were there any other... Was that a start of the year thing? Or was that something that as soon as you got to the club, you just noticed the culture shift?
Yeah, you just noticed that was what they were about. And, I look back at my time there from being in the leadership group from 2012. And it definitely made me a better individual in the way I go about things in life, no doubt. But we just had such a strong group of leaders. You had Hodges, Mitchell, Roughheads, Lewis, who else went through there? Souls,
yeah, I was say Soul.
There was Bateman, all of these guys, early on that were just all fantastic leaders. And I think we had a really good mix that allowed us to, produce some of the footy we did. And it was a good time.
You mentioned earlier about going and training on Buddy and Ruffy and those kind of guys, but it seemed like your relationship with Buddy was one that, for a guy that at the time Buddy was he didn't speak much, and it almost seemed like he used to speak through you almost. You'd always be answering questions on his behalf. But tell us a bit about your friendship with him.
Yeah, look, I guess as you get older, Bud lives on the Gold Coast, I'm here, people have families, so you're never as close as what you were, and that's why we're so lucky that we get to have premiership reunions and all that type of stuff, so you can only get these times to catch up.
You're lucky, you get a few of them.
You get a few of them, and we've had Bud in a titanium caravan as well. So
have you?
Yeah, right. So, but, yeah, during that time, playing, we just got each other. It was, it was relaxing as well because I guess, for him, it's the biggest thing the game had seen, since Wayne Carey type of stuff. And we're in that era of social media and, he just probably never got to, he couldn't really go out there and be himself all the time. And I guess, when behind closed doors and it was, we were just hanging out, he could be himself and we could have fun together. And, yeah, it was, that's the perks of playing footy, it's like going to school, isn't it? You go to footy each day with 40 of your closest mates, some closer than others, and you get paid to be fit, compete, and like try and win silverware together and forge these relationships like a brotherhood, and that's sort of what it becomes, and the ones that are really tight and as a group of collectively, and you've got tight ones within that, is ultimately that's how you rise to the top. And me and Bud's relationship while we were playing, during those years, it was so much fun. And yeah, as you said, it probably allowed him to feel a little bit freer, and he didn't like the media, and then you had me that loved being everywhere in the media. So it was a good partnership.
And Ben, obviously best mates, you probably saw how the whole Sydney trade actually, it allowed him to get out of that Melbourne bubble and be himself more too.
Yeah, look, it was, there's been, I saw a lot of that trade. Obviously, him and I were in Vegas the time that, I'm sure you've heard the story of when Clarko came over to visit Bud in Vegas.
No, I haven't.
Well, I was going to ask about the trade. I thought I'd do it in a different way, but be direct.
Yeah. Well, we were in Vegas in the off season, and I got a call from Clarko saying that it was around that time when free agency was coming in, and I think Goddard had just moved from the Saints to Essendon and all that, and I got a call from Clarko saying, me, Bud, and Sharad Welling are actually having a great time in Vegas, and I get a call from Clarko, and sitting on the table gambling and drinking some vodka pineapples, and it's like, Gibbo. It's like, yeah, mate. He goes, Clarko. Hey, buddy. What's going on? He's like, I'm here in Vegas. I was like, right, okay. He's like, I want to catch up with you and Bud. I was like, all right, here we go. What have we done? But, I remember, long story short, I go back to Bud. It's like, Clarko wants to catch up with us tonight. And, it was a tough conversation to have. I don't think Bud really appreciated Clarko coming the other side of the world in his holidays and wanting to talk footy. But, like Clarko, the man he is, was doing it out of the goodness of his heart, and, wanted Bud to have all the things on the table, and this was after we lost the 2012 grand final. Went into the season, and so that was probably the first moment when it, because there'd been whispers about what was going to happen.
You would have known.
And no, not at that stage.
No.
Like I didn't know that he was. There's a lot of talk he was going to the GWS, and no, I didn't ask. You know what I mean? It's like I'd moved clubs. Yeah, I understand. Some people you need to do it. Whatever your circumstances are. Like I think. You look at other sports and there's so much trading, and, probably AFL for a long period of time was very loyal, and I think the game's probably catching up now where there's a lot more movement and what for. But I wasn't really phased, I didn't really ask him. But ultimately at the end of 13, he got that offer to Sydney, and at the time, whatever it was, 9 years, 10 mil or 10, whatever. I think it was 9 years for 10 mil, which was a crazy deal. And if you ask any player in the AFL, they would have taken that offer, back then. So, no, there was no hard feelings. But it was probably the Clarko trip to Vegas, which maybe set the wheels in motion.
Wow, it's funny you bring that up because I was thinking about this over the weekend, especially with St Kilda and Wanganeen Malera at the moment, and I was just curiosity. I wonder. And I would like to ask you, like, how many times a week, or if at all, do players tongue-in-cheek ask questions when there's a player there's speculation that he's going to leave? Like, or is it just no one talks about it day to day?
Look, my time, there wasn't that much talk about it day to day. Like, like we'd probably, behind Bud's back, we might ask every now and then, do you think he's going to go? But you didn't let it dictate your footy world, or like it was just business as normal when you're there, and what happens post that happens. I don't think that I think there's so much movement these days, and there's so many media outlets that, like, there wasn't that many when I was playing. Everyone's a journalist these days.
There wasn't these.
Yeah, no, I didn't say everyone was. Everyone thought they were journalists. Everyone wasn't quality podcasters. There's a big difference, all right. So. But, like everyone, once upon a time, used to have to wait for the news at 6 p.m. But now we just, as society, it's like, I want it now. It's like, I want an update now. So you can pick up your phone anytime and get updated on anything you want to know. And I think it's probably these days when someone's trading, it's just fed the whole time. You know what I mean? Like, you can't, like you just gave the example about him. This St Kilda just can't get away from it at the moment, you know? Like, when he's going out there playing good footy, it's obviously not affecting him. But, you know, from a public standpoint, it's just never hear the end of it.
Yeah.
What were some of your toughest pre-seasons? Do you have a good pre-season story? Did you ever go to the PNG camps and stuff?
Yeah, I did. I did Kokoda my first year. It was tough. Probably my toughest pre-season was at North Melbourne. After 2015, when was my first year? What my first year? 2005, sorry.
It was like 2015.
Yeah. 2005, we were crap. So for 2006, like, we literally started a couple of weeks after the grand final.
Right.
Like, we were into it early October. So you think, like, you've done October, November, December. You get to Christmas break. You know, these days you do 2 weeks before Christmas. Some teams, we did 3 months. And I mean, it was tough. Lots of 1K time trials, doing like hundreds, sprint sessions, like, just got flogged. And you just wonder, like, how am I going to get through this? Like, we did a camp that the Melbourne players did, and they spoke to the AFL Players Association and said, we're not doing it. This is too hard. And it was with these SOG guys, and they brought out, they came out to Arden Street. I'll never forget it. We all had, like, your rucksacks packed. I said, you're going away for a few days, and you got them full of lollies and all this. You get there, and they give you all T-shirts, and it's like, you just got a red, blue, yellow, or green T-shirt, and it had a number on the back. It's like, you're just red 5 now, and you're yellow 4. You don't have a name anymore. That's it. And so we're sitting on the bus, and they're like, okay, get off the bus, guys. You know, and aggressive. And we're all getting off slate, and they're just like, 100, 200, 300. By the time we get off, they're like, you owe us 700 push-ups. Oh. I'm like, okay, fuck, might be a bit serious. So we leave Arden Street. We go down to Port Melbourne, and we stop right down the end of Bay Street, get on the beach there. And just, it was the worst day ever, like windy, blowing sand in your face, raining, just actual waves out there, like windsurfers, you know, and they get blown onto the street. Like, it was one of those days. And we're just commando crawling through the sand, like, just getting absolutely punished, running down to Kerford Road back. I dropped my asthma puffer in the sand, and they're like, Red 7, the fucking idiot's dropped his asthma puffer, so we're going to look for it because this dickhead doesn't know how to keep. You know, everyone's having a crawl through the sand trying to find my puffer. And jump off Kerford Road, beach, swim in, blokes are almost drowning. You're holding arms, doing sit-ups in the water, like you see on those SOG.
The SAS shows.
Yeah, SAS, that type of stuff, right?
Yeah.
So they were special ops guys. And you get on the bus, and you're like, oh, that's done. And they give you, like, a book and a little notepad. You have to write, like, a 400-word essay on leadership. And it was just so you didn't talk on the bus. And we drove to Dandenong, you finish your essay, rip it up, throw it in the bin. Didn't give to. Have you ever done 1,000 stairs?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we've got 6 blokes at a time. You know how 1,000 stairs can be busy. You've got a hammock, and you've got to have a bloke on there that's over 90 kilos. You've got to carry him up 1,000 stairs, pushing past the public. Get up there, get on the bus, think we're done. Bus drives you back down the bottom, get out, go up again. Think we're done. Bus drives you down the bottom, get up, go back up. Like, that type of stuff. That night, like,
you don't even get a break walking down.
Right,
it's
no. Bus drives straight down. That night, silent walking race. There's a group of blokes in the middle that are like, we were told we're sleeping in bunks. We're outside, 1 o'clock in the morning. Get you up. We're doing this walking race. Don't talk. Just follow the glow sticks. It's like a 5K track. You just walk quietly till they tell you to stop. Guys are injured in the middle, and they're like laughing. It was Shannon Grant, and I think Daniel Harris, and that were in there. And anyway, so we got flogged during that. You get to camp, and we gave these metal poles, and they're like, they're your guns. We've got night vision. We're going to come and bash you during the night. So you got to have 2 people watching your camp. If you don't watch, we'll bash you. So you're like sitting there at night with your pole, and you're like, if you think we're coming, you got to tell us halt who goes there, and then we won't bash you. So anyway, that takes place. We survive the night. No one gets bashed. And the next day we're at this cyclone fence, you know, like the old school fence cyclone, and we're all sitting in like the dip position with holding the fence. And he's like, all right, you blokes yesterday that were laughing last night, come out the front. And so we're all sitting there in this dip position. and he gives them all a can of Coke and a Tim Tam, and he's like, all right, I want you to drink that can of Coke and lick the chocolate off that Tim Tam while your teammates sit here on the fence.
Oh.
And they're like, I'm not eating the Tim Tam. I want to sit on the fence. They're like, you eat that fucking Tim Tam. Like, the boys like, hurry up and eat it. And it was just like feral. You get in that, like we do punching. They make a circle. You get in. They just like punch the crap out of each other.
Brutal.
But the next night was the best night. They took us out in the middle of the night and they just stood you near a tree, just dropped you off in the bush. And they're like, we've got night vision on. We're coming to bash you again. You're not allowed to lean. You're not allowed to sit down. You got to stand up with your bag on and your gun. And like, I just remember hallucinating. Like, I was out there for hours and you'd be like, halt, who goes there? And it would just be a tree. There was nothing there. And I got to a stage where I was like, shit, they've forgotten about me. Like, I just have to wait for the sun to come up and I'll walk my way back. You know, like I'll find civilization. And then they finally come and pick you back up. And I've just given you a snippet of it, but it just went on for days. And so it was like brutal. Yeah, and the Melbourne players went to do it for one day, apparently, and they just...
Was that recently?
Like a couple of years ago, and then they went to do it the next year, and the players spoke to the Players Association and said, no way, we're not doing it.
So is this what they, like, when you hear about the Adelaide Crows camp, do you think it's, suspect it's something similar to...
Yeah, I think theirs got a little bit
more
racial, didn't
more
it?
mental.
They
Not so physical.
Yeah. But like...
I think Adelaide had the Richmond theme song blaring in the bus.
Yeah, right.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh,
and like
wow.
we had these metal poles and you used to have to hold them like this, right?
Yeah.
And stand there. And like, I've still got vision in my head of Lee Brown, big, strong man. He's like this. And like, you'd get underneath him and you'd be lifting his arm up to try and like,
Yeah,
and like every now and then when we played poorly, because Laidley kept the poles. So we'd play a shit game. And he'd be like, all right, everyone out in the middle of Arden Street. And he just opened his bag and there's those middle poles. He's like, okay, pull them out. And you would all be standing there at Arden Street holding the poles up in the air. But
Did you say this was your first year at North?
no, it must have been like that was a different. That wasn't that wasn't that part of the hardest preseason. But that was like that was my hardest preseason, which was 26 and a 26. And obviously we played finals and. That was the year we played Bud and them in the final. So it worked.
Yeah.
But that was by far the toughest preseason ever had.
That's insane. We've asked a few people on this show that are ex-AFL players their hardest training sessions. I think that takes
that's the hardest.
That's the hardest. That was unbelievable. Now, we obviously have to ask this question too. I think it was to do with the F1 and you staying out till, was it 5 a.m? And Clarko, can we just clear a few things up because obviously I remember back in the day the Footy Show did a lot on this, and I think Sam was grilling you. But yeah, what happened on that occasion?
So it must have been around at the start of the year. You know, you always have Easter Monday or whatever against Geelong.
Oh yeah, the Kennett curse.
And so it must have somehow we had. Maybe the week before, because we're allowed to go out on Sunday, you know, because it wasn't playing till the next Monday. I can't remember. But so I went to the Grand Prix and had a few. and like I was there with others, Jordan Lewis and those guys. And then I had a few more. And then there was an after party and Jordan and them were like, we're going to go home. And I said, I just might have a few more. And
there's certain international...
Yeah, and then, there's a female that I knew at the time. And she was in town, and so with a couple of friends, and had a few more. And I think I ended up at Boutique nightclub, and I remember the owner telling me, "Josh, there's media out the front." I was like, okay. Can I sneak out the back door? So jumped in a limo, and I think I got home and had a shower. Sat on the shower floor for a while. And I think Bud or whoever picked me up for training, and I just remember the physio going, oh, mate, you stink like alcohol. And we had like players review, game review at 4 p.m. And I was like, I got through the day. I was getting through the day. You know, there's a bit of downtime around 2. And I'm just like walking into the theatre at 4 p.m. I was like, I think I've made it through this. And then as I was walking into the theatre, I just get the tap on the shoulder from Mark Evans. And he's like, Harold's son have called us. Said you had a pretty big night last night. And I was like, yeah, maybe. And I remember it next day, like just the worst night's sleep of my life. You know that there's going to be an article in the paper and it just gave you the worst anxiety. and it was page 3.
Oh, I love how you remember the page.
Yeah, it was like you opened it, it was just me. And it was like Josh Gibson acting like he's bigger than Elvis Presley or something. So, like, for the next year, Campbell Brown called me Elvis, like. But, yeah, I got in a bit of trouble. Kennett wanted to fine me $50,000.
What?
Yeah, and I got it down to 3. So,
not bad bargaining.
Not bad bargaining.
Very good.
And I just remember I was like, because it's round 1 or 2. I was early in the season. I was like, sweet. I'm just going to let my footy do the talking. And then must have been round 3 or whatever, playing the Doggies. Remember when Jordan Lewis got KO'd by Harbrow?
Crazy.
Yeah, I tore my hamstring tendon in the first quarter on the lead against Barry Hall. And so I tore my hamstring, had to have surgery, and it was just like the worst because I just had this misdemeanor. And I was like, I'll let my footy do the talking, and that didn't happen. So I was out injured for a while. I was rock bottom, but I remember after that, the Pussycat Dolls incident, I got told at the club. Are we allowed to swear on here?
Yeah.
I was sat down in front of the group, and it was fit in or fuck off, and it was like, it was aggressive, and I decided to fit in, and here we are. I get to be on a podcast.
Well, yeah, there you are, 3 flags later. I mean,
but no, look, it wasn't. Sometimes,
Do you like sit from the outside? Because us sitting here, like, I mean, at the end of the day, I get it's a professional environment, understand everything that you guys are trying to achieve. But at the end of the day, it's a big night out, but you've still rocked up to work. You've still done what you got to do, and you're still in the headspace, okay, that you're going to do what you can to let your footy do the talking. Do you think it was harsh how it was dealt with? Or do you think it's fair? Like, if you were a senior leader or a coach at the club, how would you have?
Yeah, look, now I look back, they gave us good leeway. They said you can go the race, you can go the Grand Prix. We're okay with you drinking. Just pull up stumps at like 7 p.m. because we've got to be here on Monday, which is pretty good, I thought 7 p.m. meant 5 a.m. So, look, I've never been good at reading a watch.
Only up by 10 hours.
Exactly. I thought maybe 7 a.m. I thought I got home 2 hours early. I was like, what are you talking about? I've done nothing wrong. But no, look, I think, this, you want to create a professional environment. You can't perform or train when you're hungover. All that time on my legs and drinking alcohol, how much did it affect me? I went out and tore my hamstring later on, there's so many aspects, and as you get older, you learn like the fitness coaches and that they're pushing you to the nth degree. Like preseason, all these things. They like the nth degree without doing injury, and so that's why rehab and all of these things and the time they give you off is so important. So time on legs and standing up for what is it, an extra 10 hours for me. Is not what they wanted us doing. It was sleeping and recovering. So, yeah, at the time you probably think like everything you said, I got up and I did not turn up to training. I sucked it up, but yeah, it's not the right pathway we want to be setting for young kids.
I know it's like probably not a weird question, but people don't even get to answer it, or I have one opportunity to win a premiership. But do you have a favourite one out of the 3?
I have to say 13. When you're getting traded and you come into Hawthorn, they hang that premiership carrot, they dangle it in front of you, and you're like, you got the opportunity to win flags here. And when you're playing footy, like as a kid, you just want to get drafted, and then you want to play your first game, and then as you start being more established, you start buying in more to wanting to wear, to win silverware, and so that was a big thing coming across to the Hawks. And then you look at the journey to get there, like 2010, we sucked. We made the finals, went out first game, but like we were struggling early in the year, changed our game plan around. 2011, prelim, Collingwood, Bud kicks that freak goal.
Oh, yeah.
Luke Ball somehow kicks one from 40 metres, never kicked that far in his life. They win the game, and there were moments there in that, to be honest, you're running around that last quarter and I'm thinking, fuck, I'm going to play in a grand final next week, and you catch yourself and be like, back on the job. Then you go to 2012, I think we were minor premiers, play in a grand final, win a lot of stats that day, don't win the stat that matters, the scoreboard. And you're like, shit, is that it? Like, these guys have won one in 2008. How deep can we go? Are we going to go back to the well again? 11 we lost the prelim late, 12 we lost the grand final, and then to back up again in 13 and to finally win it. I think that was the one that was super rewarding. You know, that you
Was that Fremantle?
Fremantle, yeah. Tight, tough grand final. And, you know, they're the ones that you look back and you look at the journey we got there, and then after that, it just became party time. It's like, okay, 1-1. Let's see what we can do. No, that's a lie.
How do you guys keep the motivation, though, to go win 2 and then 3?
Yeah, it's a good question. You always have things within the group, players that have been injured, guys that come in, you know, like Spanger came in. He was, you know, like we signed Jesus. He was this cold hero. He'd been at all these clubs that had won a flag but never won one. There's adversity, you know, like we had Clarko, I can't even say it properly, Gillian Barr. You know, he had that Gillian Barr, or however you say it, syndrome. You remember where he couldn't get out of bed, and, you know, you've got assistant coach stepping in and you're like, fuck, we want to do it for him. And, you know, unfortunately, another time it's not pleasant, but Rat's assistant coach, son passed away. So you have all these things that happen to the footy club that, you know, resolve it and make it this really resilient environment. And then it, you know, it gives you motivation to achieve something. And it's a funny game, football. Like, yeah, everyone's motivated, but, you know, sometimes it takes these little extra things to really get a group to really knuckle down and be super resilient. And you know, you always, you know, we could go back and I could look at one little incident that happened each year, which you know, galvanised the group and makes you want to go out and play your best.
How was you and the big man Brian Lake had a good little combo?
Yeah, look, I'm still waiting for Lakey to give me a loan of that Norm Smith medal. You know, obviously he couldn't get the job done on Pavlich, and I moved to Pavlich in, I think, at 3/4 time, which allowed to free him up. He won a Normie. So, yeah, I'm still waiting for Lakey to drop it off. So, Lakey, when you're ready, mate.
Is he still playing footy? I swear he was playing still.
He's coaching at Caroline Springs.
Yeah.
I went to the game the other night, Hawthorn, must have been Hawthorn Collingwood. They asked me to, you know, like you throw the first pitch in baseball, they get someone to kick a goal before the game. I said, guys, I've kicked 5 goals in my career. I haven't kicked a footy for a long time. You sure you want me doing this? So, like, you can kick it from the goal line. I said, great, okay, but the reason I'm telling you that is Lakey was out there. He's on the mic now, being the fluffer boy and warming up the crowd.
Russell Robertson.
But he's hilarious. He's coming up with skits. Remember when Bud hurdled over Collingwood back in the day? Lakey decided to reenact that the other Friday night. So he's out there. He's got the old Adidas snap pants on. So I was trying to work out, he's got a Hawthorn jersey on with black and white pants. I was like, is he taking the mickey out of Collingwood? But he wanted to have his snap pants on. So he rips them off into his shorts, hurdles over someone and, like, runs down, tries to kick the goal, like, missed it, and he was so flat. But I then had to go out and kick the goal before the game with him, and he was sweating like an animal. And it's just like classic Lakey, you know, like he's in his own world. And that's how he was with footy. Like, you know, like we'd have this game plan here and Lakey would do something else and we'd go, what the fuck are you doing, Lakey? And he'd just be like, well, I thought if I just dropped off here and I did that and Clarko would be like, just do what you're fucking told to do. You know? And we'd see him get sprayed and we'd be like,
those sprays.
We'd be like, that's full on. He's like, mate, that's nothing. I played for Rocket. He's like, that's like having a happy conversation. So, like, he had a very thick skin because he'd cop some brilliant sprays. But, geez, he's a phenomenal player. You know, like having him come across and having him as, you know, your partner in crime down back, and he's just a gorilla. And, you know, he was key part of that success we had for sure.
On field, were you a good sledger at all? Did you have any, or who had some pretty good lip on the field?
I was pretty quiet. I was like, you know, for a big portion of my career, you played on gun forwards.
Yeah.
And I'm like, don't poke the bear. Like, when I watched that people go out there and try and get into Riolu, I was like, he's already a freak. Like, what's worse than a freak? An angry freak. So, like, you know, when I played on Bard back in the day, he'd whinge to the umpires and I'd be like, yeah, you're right, Bud, I was probably holding you there. You know, this when I was at North Melbourne, I'd try and be like, just be nice to him the whole time.
Yeah.
Just they make him angry. And I had all these techniques, and then obviously Bud left. I told him all my techniques, and then he went to the Swans, and fucking they didn't work anymore. I told him all my secrets. But I wasn't a big sledger. I had a couple of good ones. I don't know if I can say them on here. They're pretty bad. But
maybe you could tell us off air.
I'll tell you off air.
Oh, okay.
You got a good like premiership celebration story, something. I mean, you've definitely got to have one if you've got a few of them. It doesn't involve the Pussycat Dolls, but
I'll give you a good one after the podcast. I'll give you a good one for
Can we wrap this up now then?
Yeah. So look, I guess the best part of the celebrations were we had Strats, who was like our resident DJ.
Oh, yeah.
Remember, Strats used to play sets at Revolver.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. He's probably the time when they started shifting the norm, you know, like when your captain of the club's playing a set at Revolver, you know, like we're not far away from wearing long sleeve jumpers, you know, like we're gonna have sunglasses in grand final parades real soon. But so we'd have ripper parties at his house, and I think the one thing we loved about grand final celebration was we'd all go to Ruffy's, because you know I said you'd go to Glenferrie Oval on Sunday morning, and Ruff lived near there. So everyone
we used to live on the same street, I think.
Yeah, it's I won't say straight.
No.
I know you guys have got a huge following, so I don't want to say it because you'll get. But everyone used to have to rock up with some Maccas. So everyone, you know, you'd have 100 burgers there. There's everything, right? And what we used to love doing was reading. You know how they give you the review on every player.
Oh yeah,
in the Herald, yeah.
And like it was like the one day I felt like the media really just got to say what they wanted, because if you played poorly, they let you know about it.
Do they rank it 1 to 40?
And they would give you a rating.
Yeah, they do, don't they?
Yeah, and they would like, you know, didn't rock up today. They played a man short, waste of time sort of stuff, you know. Like, and we just used to love sitting around and reading the reviews of some of our opposition players.
Oh, no.
It made some good viewing sometimes, and we thoroughly enjoyed it. You know, I think one of my other favourite parts was Ballantyne. You know, was pretty lippy.
Ballantyne?
Yeah, and he was very lippy out there. And I just remember, I don't know where we were flying, but it must have been a few days post, and we were all in the Virgin Lounge, and he's in there by himself. And Melbourne, you know, he's just lost the premiership to us. And he's a small man, but he would have felt so small that day. Like, you know, I was like, this is what happens when you're lippy, motherfucker.
Yeah, 100%.
You know, so, but no. Yeah, but I think those days at Ruffy's,
nice.
and reading those reviews. No.
Oh, okay. Well, we're getting pretty close to the end, but outside of Bud, who would have been one of your toughest opponents, or do you ever have sleepless nights ahead of a game before? You mentioned Barry Hall earlier. I mean, that's never. Nice.
I played on Barry Hall, Favola. Like this, when people ask me this, I'm like, it's never one. Nick Rewalt, you knew you were running 16 Ks. Favola was just so explosive over a short distance, but then was so strong in a wrestle. He was so tough to play on. I'm going to list so many.
Yeah.
I just remember.
Was it good era of good forwards?
I remember one year, myself and Michael Frito, we were the two key defenders at North. And that year, probably another year, the Herald Sun thought they could just get a little bit lippy. They decided to run a reverse Coleman. So who had the most goals kicked on them? And they were like updating it each week. It wasn't like it was just one article. It was like, and this week in the reverse Coleman, I think like me and Frito, we were like 1 and 3. Like we kept going like this, you know. It was like we were pegging each other. I got you this week. I had 6 kicked on me, and I just remember like, you know, like those era we were playing on so many good forwards. You'd be out there and you're like, fuck. Geez, I hope Jonathan Brown doesn't get hold of me today, because if he does, I'm going to have to swap, and then I'm going to go into Bradshaw, and that's no better.
Yeah.
You know, like you were playing on in an era like that. So I think like, you know, the Bud, Favola, Rewalt, Jonathan Brown, they're the ones. Yeah,
they were good.
Who's been probably the most underrated teammate, do you think, over there? Like, who doesn't get? Obviously, you play with such a great side, and a lot of leaders in the team. Like you've obviously got Hodgie and Lewis and Mitch, but
you also had, a lot of underrated players that just played their role.
Yeah, look, we were very big on that, and it was, we used to call it playing a trademark game. Like what does trademark footy look like for the Hawks? And to play a trademark game, it was a 7 out of 10. Like you get 22 blokes playing a 7, you win more games than you lose. And if everyone aims for a 7, you're going to have a couple of guys that have that 8 or 9 out of 10 game. You're going to have, a couple that have 6. But, I think when you look at just teammates that played their role consistently, like guys like Liam Shields, like consistently, we had a lethal award, which was voted by the players. And I don't know if he ended up winning one, but he was up there each year. And they were the blokes, like just week in, week out, they got their job done. And I guess down back, another example of that is a bloke like Strats, could just nullify small forwards and do it consistently. We had so many guys that would have been absolute Jedis probably if they were in, other footy clubs. But there were so many stars. Like you look at a Grant Birchall. He's one of the best movers off halfback I've ever seen. Now, you put him in a side without all those big names, he's just like he's a franchise player. So we were very lucky. We batted very deep, and I guess it meant a lot of players got to get under the radar. And I was listening to something this week about Gunners talking about him and Punky, and they made a pact after all the big names left to, we want to show that we can stand on our own 2 feet and not just it was because we had Buddy and Franklin and Gunners took the 3rd best forward and this best small forward would go to Rioli, so Bruce got the next one, and that was listening to Gunners say that it's it made me think about how deep we did bat at that stage, but also like how many good players we have, because you look at Punky obviously announced his retirement last week, and you look at the numbers that he's put up, it's just like blown me away. It's unbelievable to think this little rookie listed kid from Temora who just had this ferocious sidestep from rugby could have that sort of impact on the game.
So, I just think of that era, and as a non-Hawthorn fan, how much I fucking hated Hawthorn.
You're just so good.
Just so good. It just felt like just almost unbeatable sometimes, and especially when it came to the business end of the season, it was just Hawthorn again, and I really thought it was going to be 4 until his mob came in 2016 and rescued the rest of the AFL from a 4-peat.
Is that the doggies?
Yeah.
Yeah, we went out in straight sets. No, and it's only now when we have functions, and like I caught myself looking at some of the memorabilia the other day, and I've got, the Premiership, each Premiership.
In your house?
Yeah. And it sort of shows you the each game, the results of each game, and you sit back, you go, we won 19 out of 22 games that year, or like however many rounds we had back then, maybe 23. You're like, next year we won 18. Like, you don't remember, like, you think, we just won 15. Got, like didn't realize how often we're winning, and then the margins, we just beat someone by 81 points. I'm like, I don't remember beating anyone by 80 points ever. Like you don't remember all those finer details, and I've lucky a lot of my mates from school were Hawks fans and they loved it, but everyone was like, it's so boring. Like these grand finals are boring watching Hawthorn win by so much. But when you're a part of it, you never you never look at it like that. You never you just it's good to look back on.
No, it was awesome. It's awesome. Do you have anything for Gibbo before we?
No, let's get into the goodies.
Well, before I do, I'm only going to ask this one more time, Joe. Did you have any luck? Because you did try and throw the screen on at one stage. We have something.
This is a good segue into getting a new TV sponsor.
Yeah.
I don't want to throw anything out there, but look, JB Hi-Fi. Tell you what, if you want to get behind 2 young men.
Here we go.
This is the Jackson 5, yeah.
That's not me though.
No. I know I think I remember it. It'll be this. It's this one.
Don't be fooled. All I remember.
But he's in the center of the stage with like a hat on.
All I remember is I came on after I came on after Sam Newman dancing in the rain. Sam Newman did singing in the rain.
Singing in the rain, and that's a hard act to follow.
I reckon that's North Melbourne. Oh no, is that
forward?
That could be me doing bye in sync with North Melbourne right there. I'm not even joking. They said, we're going to get you guys be those puppets and people are going to love it. I've never seen this, but
this will earn your presents you're about to get.
I reckon that's me on the right. Hamish McIntosh. What does it say? Josh Gibbs. There's
Frito.
me in the red shirt next to him with the cap on the outside. Oh my God.
You're moving all right, Gibbo. It's nothing. You're not out of time or anything.
How do they rope players in to do that, by the way? Like, is it part of your contract?
We were young and they'd give you $3,000.
Yeah, well, that's okay. If you're getting paid.
You got me.
Oh, that's hilarious. Well, I'm going to do some research later on and see if I can find. Which song was it? Do you remember which Michael Jackson song?
You can't miss it. It's like
we'll find it.
It must have been the end of 2009. And as I said, I just remember this Sam Newman doing "Singing in the Rain." Because there was like, he's like under this rain, and then I meant to like stomp in this puddle, and there was no water left in there, so I was like stomping and nothing was splashing.
Anyway. No, well, we loved them, mate. But now it's time to, as a way of saying thank you for joining us on the show, we've got a bunch of goodies for you, Gibbo. So what are you going to bring out first? Milkman.
Milkman Australia, my favourite. All things men's grooming, Gibbo. So
okay, yeah.
I think you've got the beard kit.
Yeah, have a look what's in
there. There we go. I hope I don't have the afro kit.
Oh, no, we gave that to someone else. But
okay.
Milkman Australia, they're leading the way in all things men's grooming.
Beard 2-in-1 shampoo conditioner. Perfect. That's it.
Perfect.
Yep. Beard comb.
Lovely.
Beard comb, if you ever want to grow it right out.
Beard oil.
Yes.
They really looked
More
after
beard oil.
Okay.
They're trying to tell me something. And another beard oil.
Okay, I think we get it.
No, but I'm telling you,
Is this a bit of wax?
No, that's a
Cocoa Fresh beard candy bar.
Oh, lovely.
The missus might like that, mate.
This is a bit concerning. King of Wood. Spray.
Tell you what, Milkman will be wrapped with that, Gibbo.
King of Wood, spray and it grows. What the? No, I'm joking.
Head to milkmanaustralia.com for 20% off for everyone else. So make sure to head there.
Thank you, guys.
Use the code dos&d.
The Milkman's delivered again.
We
Hey?
need to say in time for Father's Day, Gibbo. So
it is.
You how many kids do you have?
Just one.
Just one. Okay,
Yep.
so maybe if there's a Father's Day gift in the future, Milkman could help you. But
Okay.
Russell Athletic is next. So we bring out the Russell Athletic in there, mate. Now, they look after all our guests individually. So it's Mitch Dowd, who all things underwear, sleepwear, and then Russell Athletic, which is, we already know.
The Grill Father. Fantastic.
The Grill Father. And then what have they got a tracksuit in there for you as well, mate?
Oh, I've got a pair of jocks. Look at them there.
Nice and
couple of cockies on there. Sounds like
Perfect
back
for
in
the
day.
outdoorsman.
Yeah.
Perfect for the
Perfect for the
outdoorsman.
outdoors.
And then a beautiful tracksuit.
There we go.
Do you want me to show that off?
Oh, yeah, there you go.
Why not? Look at that. Beautiful.
You know what it's all about.
Bring out my eyes. This one.
Yeah,
Russell Athletic.
exactly right.
Hey?
That's
Matches
it,
the
mate.
hat as well.
When you're in your morning, training session, you can throw that on. And in time for Father's Day, Russell Athletic are bringing out the new Artec Leisure Range DOS, featuring Buttersoft Airweave technology, all for Russell, all in time for Father's Day.
How good's that?
That's
dos&d 40 for 40% off Russell Athletic, guys.
40% off.
Yes.
Yeah,
Guys,
giving it
get
away.
behind the code. Wow. It's Father's
Giving
Day
it
coming
away.
up. Jesus. Oh, guys, I'll come back next week.
I'm shocking at buying gifts, but this makes it easier.
Well, the next one's good too. Now, we did talk about revs over the
So I'm playing a set. No? Oh, damn.
and on Chapel Street, there's a pizzeria called Freddy's. Which do you know Freddy's?
I know Freddy's.
Okay, well, you do know Freddy's. He's very good at this, Gibbo. They've brought out a drink, mate, Tommy. So that's a nice.
Freddie and Tommy had a kid.
Yeah, that's it, mate.
Yep. And
If
it's
they had a kid,
2025. Anything's possible.
They'd come out with a vodka spritz.
Well, no one drinks beer these days. It's all about these.
This looks gourmet. I've got a lemon spritz, a raspberry spritz.
Mandarin as well, mate.
Yep, that's right.
Now, these you can pick these up if you want 10% off to try the Tommies. This is coming right in time for summer when you need something easy to drink, don't you? Nice
It doesn't have to be summer.
but nice and refreshing. Bryce, and we said this earlier, Bryce really
they
made
don't
the
miss
most
you
of
either.
this.
5%, 1.4 standard drinks. Tell you what, Tommy will get
You're halfway there.
Yeah.
Oh, that's it, mate. But use the code Tommy's01 for 10% off the website. You got to make the most of that. Again, the code is Tommy's01 for them.
Make sure you're 18 though, okay?
Yeah, actually, that's right.
Are you still looking pretty fit? Still hitting the gym or?
Yeah, I'm running a marathon in not this weekend, next weekend. It's a bit awkward because I'm playing in the Legends game on the Thursday.
You're playing that?
Oh, yes.
Playing the Legends game on Thursday and now running a marathon on the Sunday, and a friend's decided to have a shotgun wedding on the Saturday. So I've got to get the last flight out of Melbourne, 4 hours sleep, and try and do this marathon.
Well, you know what might help you? Is supplements. So,
stop it. Everyone needs
what a perfect segue.
You don't know what it's like running for 4 hours. You need all the help you can get.
They're all things performance gummies. So talk recovery, high performance. You've got the creatine, the pre-workout.
A pre-workout,
and
the
BCAAs as well.
Gentlemen.
They'll go down like lollies. Hasta approved as well, so everything's above board. So
So you could have had these while you're playing, mate.
Like, really?
Really?
Does that mean they're WADA approved?
Yes. Hasta approved, which is WADA approved. They're going through all the governing bodies, mate. And... we love them.
So head to supplements.com for 30% off. Or head to...
What?
30% off?
That's 80% off all up.
I know.
Pretty much, you're getting something for free. You go and shop at all these brands after this, you're going home with something free.
Josh, what's the code?
Oh, they're also in Coles, Woolies and Chemist Warehouse. But the code is dos&d for that 30% off.
You make the most of that. So,
wow.
You'll love them, mate. It's better than walking around with a big protein shake and making a whole lot of noise. Just chew on them. They taste nice too. And to finish it all off, mate, just so you got something to go home in.
Stop it.
The dos&d tote bag, which is our pride and joy.
Save the best for last.
And then inside there, mate, there's a few more subs for you, but also some golf.
Oh, more gummies.
More gummies. L-carnitine, mate.
Oh, stop it.
Our major partner, Fleet Plan Hire Solutions. We couldn't do the show without them, and they love their golf, mate. So in there,
I love you. I got a golf towel.
Gloves, some balls and tees, mate. They'll look after you on the golf course.
He's getting it all out. We love it.
He's very good. He's done this before, Gibbo.
He's been on the footy show.
Get behind it, guys.
He knows how it works.
But, mate, this is our little way of saying thank you for joining us today. We've had an absolute ball, and we really just appreciate you jumping on and having a laugh with us.
Just bring back memories.
Oh, good,
Gibbo. This is like the Michael Jackson glove.
Exactly.
Too far, not far enough. It's been a pleasure, guys.
That was good, mate. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Now let's turn these mics off and hear the real stories. Thanks, Gibbo.